Those of us that have come through the DID mind make it difficult, I think, to understand how people who don't come from that background must think it's a bit strange when we're talking about talking to our mind. But dissociation really is taking memories and sort of stuffing them away in different places in our mind, not in our conscious mind. But when that happens, it's as though they're separate places, or we could call them separate parts in our mind. Well, why would we want to talk to them? Well, for one thing, it speeds up our healing. The reason it speeds up our healing is because if we can make friends with the chaos that's in our inner part of our mind, it makes it so that we can be friends, quote unquote, with us, friends with all of us. And making friends with the inside is a very, very good way to move forward in your healing. Sometimes we don't want to acknowledge that there are places or parts inside, partly because it's embarrassing. I remember when I was going somewhere, if there was a very gentle man, I could tell he was very kind. It was as though suddenly inside there was a place that wanted him to be our daddy. And so she would smile more and try to be around him, and it just was embarrassing to me. So sometimes that embarrassment keeps us from making friends with the inside or talking to the inside. There's also another reason why it's important to learn how to talk to the inside. And that's because there's usually a place in our mind that has done its best to protect us. And usually that place, has kind of a gruff teenager, get out of my face kind of an idea or personality, because they've had to work hard to keep things as safe as they could. And with that going on the inside, that's a level of opposition to us that can really get in the way of our healing. So of all the places inside, the ones that you want to make friends with first, in a sense, are the protector parts. They might not call themselves that, but it's very obvious when they are around that they still believe their job is to protect. So they're not only gruff with you, but with other people. So it can complicate your healing. Well, what would you do to talk to the inside? What would you need to focus in on? Well, I remember that when I would go to the dentist, which was scary for me, I would first of all bring something small and stick it in my pocket so I could feel it while the dentist was working. But also, if I could, in a sense, bribe the parts, I would say, well, if we don't bite the dentist, we'll go for ice cream. And often you can bribe the places inside to find a level of cooperation, even the protector parts. You might think, well, bribery sounds pretty negative, but as I think I mentioned in another tiny talk, if somebody said, you go to work for 40 hours a week, and at the end of the week, we're not going to pay you, you could consider the pay that you get at the end of the week as a bribe to go to work. So you can find ways to bribe to help cooperation grow on the inside. For example, being able to find out where there is a problem to begin with. Why is it that whenever you go to a certain place or meet a certain person, it just stirs up the chaos on the inside? What's going on there? Well, one of the ways to find out is to talk to the inside and ask, does anyone or any place inside my mind know why it's a problem whenever I see Mike? And usually you can hear yourself thinking, Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, it probably sounds very strange for people who don't have dissociative issues to be able to separate yourself from what's going on in your mind. But it actually happens, and the best way, as I said, to move forward is to bargain or to work with the inside so that there's an understanding of how you can all work together as a group. One of the things that's really important is to keep your promises. If you say, if you don't bite the dentist, we'll go for ice cream, you really need to go for ice cream because it's an issue of trust. If you don't have the trust from the parts inside, if they don't trust you, they're not going to cooperate. And we all have experienced the chaos and the resistance and all the upheaval that can go on the inside. So be sure that you keep your promises. Otherwise, it's as though you're taking 2 steps forward and then 1 step back. Some people have a clear diagram of what it looks like inside their head. And again, that sounds funny if you don't have dissociative issues. But it can be different for different people, and understanding what that picture is and the arrangements of the parts and in that section of our mind can be really helpful. For example, for me, it was a picture of a schoolhouse, and I had different parts in different rooms in the schoolhouse. And others, there's maybe a garden and everybody's in the garden. And my last suggestion will sound even more kind of strange if you're non-dissociative. And that is, everybody needs a conference room. By that I mean, it's whether it's intercom or whatever it is, where everybody can hear what's going on. So you might gather people inside and make sure everybody is present so they can hear. They're around the conference table or they're on the intercom. So you can tell them all, if we don't bite the dentist, we can go for ice cream. So everybody's aware. Because the amnesia barriers in the mind make it so that some of the places in the mind are aware of what's being said and other parts aren't aware. It's called being co-conscious. That means you can hear what's going on the inside rather than amnesia issues. So you have the conference table, you make sure everybody's listening, and then whatever you need to really communicate or find out from the different parts, you can do it at the meeting. For example, you might say, I really just don't know why Mike bothers me so much. Does anybody know why Mike bothers so much? And it's a much better chance that someone in the group is going to know why Mike bothers so much. So I'd encourage you to begin learning how to talk to the inside. Don't make enemies of them because that can be disastrous. I hope this has been helpful. See you next time.